a shower or two. As we move into the weekend, things look pretty good. That's the weather for now. It's up every hour on the hour. I'm Jim Boston.
On World News Tonight this Thursday, the Presidential Rehabilitation Project, back where he first became the comeback kid. In the very earliest polio vaccine, there was a virus. Is there now a link to cancer? The latest pollution standards for cars and sport utility vehicles, the government says it'll be like taking 50 million cars off the road. And one country's entire genetic profile given over to a pharmaceutical company. We'll take a closer look at Iceland.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. One of the most skillful political campaigners America has ever seen went back to the campaign trail today. It's 7 years ago today that Mr. Clinton managed to finish second in the New Hampshire primary after weathering accusations about affairs and draft dodging. He said then that New Hampshire made him the comeback kid. Now, Mr. Clinton would like to be the comeback president. ABC's John Cochran starts us off from New Hampshire.
The president came back to the state that gave him a second chance 7 years ago when he promised that despite reporting about his character, he would rebuild a recession-racked economy. Now polls show most people here feel he has kept his promise. So, how does it feel to return?
Wonderful.
Not everyone welcomed him back. Certainly not old enemies like Manchester's conservative newspaper, which still demands that he resign. But there were plenty who were eager to hear him address their concerns about retirement and long-term health care.
We all get sick. We all need doctors. We all need health care. This should not be a partisan issue.
That was the bipartisan Clinton speaking. We will hear a lot from that Clinton as he tries to show he can still work effectively with the Republican Congress. But he also remembers it was the Republicans who impeached him. And that Clinton will be working closely with allies meeting part of the South in Miami, where big labor has formulated an unprecedented $43 million battle plan to oust Republicans from control of the House.
As long as we discuss issues that affect working men and women and not wedge or fringe issues, then I think we'll be very effective in the year 2000.
But while the president wants a Democratic House, the Democrat he most wants to win is Al Gore. The president's top political priority is to help Gore succeed him. All the Democrats will need money, and President Clinton will be active in that, starting with a fundraiser in this hall tonight. Bill Clinton knows his history, and he knows the Watergate scandal devastated Richard Nixon's party. But Clinton feels he is different, that he can actually be a big plus for his party, and in the process, maybe, just maybe, change the way history judges him. John Cochran, ABC News, Manchester, New Hampshire.
In Washington and in Europe today, NATO military commanders are making contingency plans for Kosovo. In the event that the Serbs and ethnic Albanians fail to reach a peace agreement, the U.S. has ordered 51 warplanes to join an attack force in Europe. These planes would strike at Serb targets in Kosovo if the Serbs block a deal. NATO is also making plans to evacuate hundreds of international monitors in Kosovo if the airstrikes look likely. In Washington today, the Environmental Protection Agency is on the verge of proposing a stiff new series of pollution regulations. They will affect cars and trucks and sport utility vehicles and gasoline. And if the White House signs on, they're going to be very tough. Here's ABC's Barry Seraphin.
Under the proposed new rules, light trucks, including sport utility vehicles, pickups, and minivans, would have to meet the same increasingly strict emission standards that apply to passenger cars. Those who have seen the proposal say they would begin to phase in 2004. Automakers say they have already eliminated 97% of emissions, that cleaning up the rest will be difficult and they need more time. And they say the stricter emission standards would add about $200 to the cost of the average vehicle. To make the catalytic converter on vehicles more efficient, the proposed rule would also require cleaner gasoline. They would force oil companies to cut the sulfur content in gas by 90%.
Lowering sulfur to levels as low as 30 parts per million on a nationwide basis is equivalent to taking 54 million vehicles off the road overnight.
The oil industry also says it needs more time.
2004 to 2006 is too much too soon.
Oil industry officials claim the new rules would cost consumers an added 5 to 6 cents a gallon at the gas pump. The proposals have not yet gone to the White House, and the EPA would not comment today beyond a statement saying the new regulations will reduce millions of tons of harmful air pollution. Barry Seraphin, ABC News, Washington.
In other news today, there are some serious questions being asked about the very first polio vaccine used in America between 1955 and 1963. Today, more than 30 years later, another American scientist, in this case one Janet Butel at the Baylor College of Medicine in Texas, believes that a monkey virus in the early polio vaccine may be associated with cancer. First, here's ABC's John McKenzie.
It was part of an aggressive nationwide campaign to stop the spread of polio. Tens of millions of Americans received the first Salk polio vaccine. But by the early 1960s, scientists had discovered a problem. Some of the vaccine, made from the cells of monkeys, had been contaminated with a monkey virus called SV40. Tests showed SV40 caused a variety of tumors in hamsters. Now, a report in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute, reviewing all the available scientific literature, concludes there's persuasive evidence that SV40 DNA can be found in human cancer.
The studies weren't done in the past to look for it. You don't find something unless you look for it. And it was only when the technology became sensitive and specific enough that definitive results could be obtained.
And what might this mean today? Evidence of this monkey virus now appears in about 33% of bone cancers, 50% of childhood brain cancers, and as much as 70% of a rare lung cancer called mesothelioma. Researchers are clear to point out that while the virus can be found in certain cancers, there is no proof it actually causes those cancers. Nor is there proof that Americans carrying the virus, now estimated to be as much as 10% of the population, actually got it from that original vaccine.
We don't know that it was introduced by the polio vaccine. It may well be that the virus has always been able to infect people.
The researchers say that one bit of good news from this is that associating this monkey virus with certain tumors might eventually help in the early diagnosis of certain cancers. John McKenzie, ABC News, New York.
Our medical editor, Dr. Tim Johnson, joins us from Boston tonight. Tim, okay, in the meantime, what does this mean to me? Say I took that vaccine between 55 and 63.
Well, I want to point out two things. Since 63, there has been no contamination of the polio vaccine by this virus, and for those who did have it before 63, there has been no evidence that they have been at any greater risk for these cancers as a result of that kind of exposure. So bottom line, we have to keep pursuing this research. We have to find out what the presence of these viruses mean, but we don't have any solid evidence that they cause the tumors or that you got them from the vaccine.
This piece of news sort of sprang into prominence today. I realize it's been around for some time. What's the good news?
The good news is that the more we learn about this virus and its possible relationship to tumors, the better chance, as John said, of diagnosis, maybe even of developing a vaccine against this particular virus, which would be ironic, a vaccine against the virus that originally contaminated another vaccine.
Right. Thanks very much, Tim Johnson, our medical editor, who is in Boston with the good news. When we come back, the other news, a wave of kidnappings in Mexico, and Mexicans say enough. And, believe it or not, a bicycle made from a bed, a carrot that looks like a hand. That's Ripley's, believe it or not, an anniversary.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Nature's Resource Herbs.
Try to remember now where to look for a ginkgo biloba to help aid memory. Nature's Resource knows you should look for one with terpenes and flavone glycosides for memory help. And unlike some, Nature's Resource guarantees the potency and purity you need. Make your herbal resource Nature's Resource. Follow the knowledge.
Mom's calling Enterprise Rent-A-Car because our car is sick.
Enterprise will arrange to pick you up.
Wow!
Drive you to our place and get you on your way.
Everybody loves to be picked up.
Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
Morning seems so much brighter after a good night's sleep. That's why I love my Tylenol PM. Sometimes I have trouble sleeping. I used to worry about taking something. How would I feel in the morning? And then I tried Tylenol PM. It stops my pain and helps me sleep. So in the morning, I'm rested, refreshed, ready to make the most of my day.
Rest easy. It's Tylenol PM.
In Mexico today, there has been a kidnapping that has stunned the nation, and that is saying something, given how many kidnappings there are in Mexico. Here's ABC's Bill Blakemore.
World Cup player Jorge Campos is a megastar in Mexico. And when his father was kidnapped by men with assault rifles yesterday from a soccer field, it was the last straw for many in Mexico. Enough already, pleaded Mexico's leading news anchor. Nobody escapes crime in our country. There have been more than 2,000 kidnappings in the last year, one a day reported in Mexico City alone. Hundreds of millions of dollars were paid last year in ransoms. Rich people now routinely buy bulletproof cars and hire bodyguards.
My daughters couldn't go to any place without bodyguards. And that is terrible because you begin to live in a culture of fear.
Making things worse, Mexico's police have been implicated in many kidnappings. The kidnappers themselves now come from across the society, the unemployed, political activists, small-time crooks, and organized crime.
Antes de partir hacia el aeropuerto,
Jorge Campos was in Hong Kong when his father was kidnapped. He arrived home this afternoon to newspaper reports that the kidnappers are asking $2 million. Bill Blakemore, ABC News.
On the money tonight, stocks first. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up more than 103 points to close at 92.98. On the NASDAQ, stocks were up about 11.5 points. From the Internal Revenue Service today, the 22 hours of work you have ahead of you, the IRS says the average person who takes at least a few deductions will need 22 hours to fill out a tax return this year. That's 3 hours more than last year. No surprise. The latest commodity for sale on the internet, postage. Several companies testing systems that allow you to pay with a credit card and use a regular printer to put an electronic postage mark on the envelope. And while this is true in lots of states, today it's New York looking for people to claim more than $4 billion in funds it is holding. Dormant bank accounts, dividend checks, refunds from utility bills sent to the wrong address. The money keeps pouring in. $289 million last fiscal year, and that is only New York. When we come back, an American fugitive one step closer to prison.
Does your older dog seem confused? Doesn't recognize you? Or turns away when you pet him? It could be due to a medical condition called cognitive dysfunction. So if your older dog loses interest in your family and no longer acts like he used to, ask your veterinarian if Anapril can help. Side effects may include vomiting, diarrhea, or behavior changes. Consult your veterinarian before using with other medications or tick collars.
You may be surprised who's drinking Ensure. Healthy people. Why? Because to help you stay healthy, you have to eat right. For the times you can't eat nutritious foods like these, drink Ensure. With the essential vitamins and minerals you find in vegetables, calcium like in milk, and protein like in fish. Ensure is a source of complete balanced nutrition to help you stay active and energetic. Drink Ensure. And drink to your health.
We're picking up our CEO. Fortunately, the company cars have OnStar. We swerved off the road and boom, the airbags go off. There was a deer. I never saw it. Seconds later, an OnStar advisor calls and says, I just got a signal, your airbags went off, should I send an ambulance?
We were fine, but she called for a tow truck and a limo.
Good thing I called OnStar.
OnStar called us.
Oh, right.
The one-touch connection to people who can help.
OnStar.
Call 1-800-OnStar-7.
Overactive bladder.
That strong, sudden urge.
Having to go so often.
The fear of wedding accidents.
If you're one of the millions who live with some of these symptoms, there's something you should know. Overactive bladder isn't normal at any age, and your doctor has treatments that can help.
Need a break? I can wait.
These treatments can help reduce the symptoms of an overactive bladder.
You want to go back?
In a while.
Overactive bladder isn't normal at any age,
So talk to your doctor today about treatments that can help.
In France today, a court has agreed to send a convicted murderer back to the United States. Ira Einhorn has spent decades eluding the law, and the state of Pennsylvania has gone to enormous lengths to get him back, passing a law granting him a new trial, promising not to seek the death penalty in his case. But even today, they don't quite have their hands on him. ABC's Sheila McVicker tonight in the French city of Bordeaux.
Holly Maddox's sisters said they did not really expect justice today. The extradition order for the man accused of killing her left them stunned.
We're giant steps closer to our dream goal of actually seeing him come off an airplane in chains.
22 years ago, Ira Einhorn was a well-known peace activist and hippie guru in Philadelphia when his longtime girlfriend Holly Maddox mysteriously disappeared. Einhorn was arrested for the first time in Philadelphia in 1979 after police found the mummified body of Holly Maddox in a locked trunk in a locked closet in his bedroom. Charged with murder, Einhorn fled and spent the next 18 years on the run. In absentia in a Philadelphia court, he was tried and convicted of the murder. But hiding in France, he lived comfortably under an assumed name with his Swedish wife until a routine police check revealed his identity. Today's decision takes him closer to custody in America, but American prosecutors were upset when the French judge let Einhorn walk free pending an appeal.
I am concerned that he may flee again.
The French judge said he had no reason to detain Einhorn, who has been honoring his pledge to regularly report to French police. But last year, Einhorn told ABC's 2020 he has no intention of serving any time in jail.
Well, there are alternatives. There may not be too many of them, but there are alternatives.
The French courts will give him months to plan his next step. Sheila McVicker, ABC News, Bordeaux.
Two other items overseas today. There's a report from South Korea today which says more than 2 million people have died in the north as a result of famine. South Korean intelligence officials cite a classified survey from the north saying that more than 500,000 North Koreans have died of hunger every year since 1995. Very hard, as you know, to check on. In Australia, a bushfire burning out of control has killed some 4,000 sheep, burned through 22,000 acres of grassland. Hundreds of firefighters trying to contain the fire. Gusting winds, as you can see, making it difficult. In a moment, still from overseas, selling your genetic code, an unprecedented experiment. We'll take a closer look.
There is a new breed of business person who has decided to go it alone. You, the entrepreneur, who shed the shackles of the corporate world to start your own business. Staples will always be there for you.
What hit me?
Wingtip. Staples has everything for your home office. Want low prices? Yeah, we've got that.
I'm in pain, so much pressure, I just can't focus. Mom, what's 13 into 260?
Kevin, just give me a minute.
Mom, you okay?
Now clear the sinus pain with Tavist Sinus Gel Caps. It's new. It goes beyond pain relievers like extra strength Tylenol to not only relieve pain, but unclog the congestion that may cause the sinus pain. So you're clear-headed again.
Can you say that again?
Why suffer sinus pain? Be clear-headed, clear through your day with new Tavist Sinus Gel Caps.
You didn't save me any?
There wasn't enough.
Quaker Toasted Oatmeal Squares. Crunchy whole grain squares with a hint of brown sugar. You haven't wanted a cereal this badly since you were a kid.
The nation's top critics are calling Life is Beautiful a masterpiece, an astonishingly moving and wondrous film, now nominated for 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture of the Year. Life is Beautiful, rated PG-13, now playing.
Chevy Tahoe, like a rock.
We're going to take a closer look at genetics tonight because it is by studying the basic building blocks of life that scientists believe the greatest advances in medicine will now be made. Here is one example of why it is such a challenge. If it were possible to line up all the genetic material of a single baby, all the DNA strands, into one line of material, it would be long enough to stretch from the sun to Pluto and back 15 times. That's 114 billion miles of genetic material in one baby. And all it takes is one unexpected alteration in those miles of DNA to be the source of a crippling disease. Scientists have already made progress finding these altered genes in DNA strands. They've identified genes that are the source of Alzheimer's and cystic fibrosis, but there is still so much to learn. Which brings us to one of the most unusual donor programs in the name of research. The entire population of Iceland, in the middle of the North Atlantic, is giving up its genetic information to a pharmaceutical company. ABC's Richard Gisbert has just been there.
Iceland is a beautiful yet forbidding place, a geologically restless island of lava, still shifting, still growing, a work in progress in the North Atlantic. Now, scientists want to mine Iceland, but they're not looking at the rock, the volcanic landscape. They're examining the genetic landscape, the people.
Iceland is a unique resource in the world for genetic research. The whole country is like one extended family.
Nearly all 270,000 people here have roots that go back to the Vikings. Hardly any new immigrants have come in the last 1,000 years. Icelanders are passionate about their unique identity. Many trace family trees back to the 12th century on ancient parchments meticulously preserved. It's no wonder, given their shared heritage, that Icelanders tend to look alike, on the outside and on the inside, right down to their Viking genes. That genetic similarity might make Iceland the best laboratory anywhere to study genes. Scientists hunting for the tiny genetic mutations that can cause a disease find that those mutations really stand out here compared to a more mixed gene pool like the U.S.
We would have a database that would be of spectacular value. It would be a great instrument to create new knowledge in medicine.
Kerry Stephenson is a neurologist who is making Iceland's genetic heritage his business. He wants to store the genetic profile of every Icelander in a computer database, then sell access to that information for big money to drug companies or anyone doing research. The government has approved Stephenson's plans. In exchange, his company will computerize Iceland's entire medical history and give Icelanders free access to any drugs produced through the database. In effect, Iceland is treating its unique genetic heritage as a natural resource, not unlike the fishing grounds that surround it. Not everyone here thinks that's a good idea.
I find that a bit disgusting that people can make such huge amount of money by breaking ethical rules.
The idea of the database has attracted criticism from well beyond Iceland. The fear is, once personal genetic information is put in the hands of private companies, that information could end up anywhere. For instance, what if you carry a gene mutation that's particularly common in alcoholics? If your employer ever found out, you could lose your job. What about a woman who has a genetically higher risk of getting diabetes? Could an insurance company get that information and then deny that woman coverage? Kerry Stephenson says the database will be coded, everyone's privacy will be protected, and science will be well served.
We should not put limitations on creation of knowledge. We should create this knowledge, but we should be very careful on the way in which we use it.
Careful to ensure that the genetic essence of the individual remains private. A mystery, a bit like the diseases medical science has come here to cure. Richard Gisbert, ABC News, Reykjavik, Iceland.
There is more about Iceland and genetic research in general on our website, abcnews.com, and we'll be back in a moment, believe it or not.
There is an athlete amongst us, disguised as a mother and a neighbor. She takes women's Ultra Mega multivitamins made exclusively by GNC with 35 premium ingredients like calcium and iron. GNC, live well.
Pillsbury presents the easy way to make fresh baked garlic bread. Spread the garlic, bake them up, and in minutes you've got fresh baked garlic bread. Pillsbury garlic breadsticks.
Now we're talking fresh.
All right, but there's one thing everybody in Washington can agree on.
That would be?
There's more heartburn than ever.
And more Republican.
And more burning, more pressure.
More pain.
Yeah, and it's time someone did more about it, too.
Alka-Seltzer does more with more medicines than any antacid or acid blocker. Alka-Seltzer speeds complete relief to your worst heartburn and pain.
Yeah, Alka-Seltzer. This country deserves more.
You sound like a Democrat.
Democrats just promise more.
Alka-Seltzer, more complete heartburn relief.
With its wider track and precise cornering, nothing can contain the White Track Grand Prix, not even your television. Stand by as we adjust your screen. Now you can catch the White Track Grand Prix GT and experience its outstanding cornering and control. Drive it for yourself and see why wider is better. The White Track Grand Prix by Pontiac. Now you can lease the Grand Prix GT sedan for just $269 a month. See your Pontiac dealer today.
ABC is taking Thursday by storm. We'll show you Mother Nature at her most violent. Plus ET soccer players struck by 1,000,000 volts of lightning. It's the most terrifying footage you've ever seen. The world's deadliest storms. ABC tonight, 8/7 Central. Then the storm you prayed never happens. The exciting conclusion. Stephen King's Storm of the Century. ABC tonight, 9/8 Central.
Tonight on Channel 2 News, the plan to deal with the new Carissa seems to change as often as the tide. We'll investigate why. Plus, firefighters discovered more than flames in Gresham. They snuffed out a suspected meth lab. I'm John Marler. The news is next.
A final word this evening, which we picked up first on National Public Radio. We thank them. This is the 90th anniversary of Ripley's cartoon, Believe It or Not. At one time around the world, Believe It or Not was read by 80 million people. Today, there's a Ripley's retrospective on a national tour. And this week, it's at the High Museum in Atlanta. By the 1930s, Ripley's archive of the odd and often bizarre was enormously popular.
It became a great phenomenon that Americans all seem to want to participate in.
Contortionists, balancing acts, the only man in history named after currency. Believe it or not, millions of people dreamed of being immortalized by Ripley.
Well, Robert Ripley really touched a chord in the American psyche about wanting to make a mark on the world, wanting to stand out.
At its height in the 30s and 40s, Believe It or Not attracted 1 million letters and photographs a year.
It became an incredibly competitive thing, so that people who saw somebody in Ripley's thought about, now how could I top that?
Try this or this. Her hat made from her own hair. His bicycle made from a bed. The biggest carrot ever grown in the shape of a human hand. A 90-year-old man hoisting himself on a flagpole. That elusive 15 minutes of fame. Believe it or not. That is our report on World News Tonight. We hope you have an inventive evening. I'm Peter Jennings. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.